Hello and a big warm welcome to Café New Canadians. Today is a very special edition of our series, Immigrants' Journey to Success. This is an ongoing series where we speak to different members from different communities. Today we are spotlighting members from the Afghan community to bring you their stories of making it in Canada. Just to give you a background of what Café New Canadians is and what we do here, we are a virtual event series focused on providing resources and guidance to the newcomer community in Canada. We have been hosting this series since the start of the pandemic in 2020. So from job seeking advice, interview skills, settlement, finances, there's so much more to tune into. And you can tune into our immensely valuable content and conversations across our social platforms. We also broadcast nationally on Omni Television. And we're there on YouTube, and we have our website. And do subscribe to our newsletter where we bring you curated lineup of content, our best stories every month right in your inbox. Time to get started. My name is Vasudha Sharma, and let's now welcome our guests from the Afghan community. Let's start with Hakima Yusufi, settlement counselor from the Afghan Women's Organization. We also have Sahak, senior diversity and equity consultant from the Center of Addiction and Mental Health. We have Zahra Hafiz, founder of Hazara Women's Organization. And we have Mehrangiz Monsef, advocate for truth and reconciliation, justice and peace. She works with many organizations in the community. Hakima, Zahra, Jen, Mehrangiz, thank you so much for joining me today. And before I come to my guest today, we're talking today about immigrants' journey to success, speaking to members from the Afghan community, and really kind of taking a deep dive into the kind of trials and tribulations they overcame to find their path in Canada. A quick housekeeping note, you can ask your questions to our guests live during the conversation. Tap in your question in the chat box on YouTube. All right, pleasure to speak to all four of you. To start with, I'd love to come to each one of you and get a brief introduction about yourself, when you came to Canada, and what do you do today? Maybe I could start with you, Zahra.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zahra. I'm originally from Afghanistan. I came to Canada since 2008. Right now, I'm working as an outbreak communication disease investigator and site inspector in Toronto Public Health. I'm also volunteering. I am the founder of Hazara Women Organization and the co-founder of Afghan Empowerment Committee. So I came to Canada almost 13 years ago.
That's wonderful, Zahra. Welcome to our Café New Canadians today. Hakima Yusufi, give us an introduction about yourself.
Thank you, Vasudha. My name is Hakima Yusufi. I immigrated to Canada in the year of 1994, along with my parents and siblings after 6 long years of living in India as refugee. I completed my studies in accounting. Then I worked for a few years in the accounting field where I discovered my passion for helping people. Then I started volunteering in the community. And in the year of 2008, I started working as a settlement worker. And at the same time, I started taking social work program. Today, I work with Afghan Women's Organization, and it's been almost 10 years working as a settlement counselor. I assist newcomer families with their settlement process to their new homes.
Excellent, Hakima, welcome. Mehrangiz, you're next in my lineup of windows, so I'll come to you now. Tell us something about yourself, when you came to Canada, and what has your time here been like?
Absolutely, yeah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Greetings of peace. Mehrangiz از هرات افغانستان. حال به نگوجوانان هستم اما به Kitchener Waterloo زندگی میکنم. So I greeted everyone in my original language, which is Dari. I came from Herat, Afghanistan to Turtle Island, and specifically to Nogojiwanong, which is the Anishinaabe name for the place at the end of the rapids here in Peterborough, Ontario. I came here with my mom and my 2 sisters over 26 years ago. I have been doing a lot of different work in the community, but always working to bring back our cultures, walking with my identity, learning more about Afghanistan, learning about ways I can support my community, as well as grow and learn in different ways. I work as a consultant both with immigrant communities, but also doing work with the Indigenous communities around bridge building and truth and reconciliation work. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be here with everyone. And thank you, Café New Canadian, for inviting us for this conversation that I'm really looking forward to.
We're so pleased to have you, Mehrangiz. And now coming to you, Jay, everybody came at different phases of their life. You came the youngest to Canada. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. Thank you for having me, by the way. It's an honor to share the space with my fellow Afghans who bring such incredible history, knowledge, and experience. And I'm looking forward to hearing about all of it. I came to Toronto in '94, and I came via Hamburg, Germany, and before that we were in a number of other countries, and that's the story of our people, right? We leave when we leave, and we arrive when we arrive, and it's really the strength and resilience of our people. I've been around for quite a while in the settlement sector as well. I've done a lot of work with the Afghan Association of Ontario, and work with the Afghan Women's Organization as well in the past life. It's a wonderful organization, and really has done a lot of groundbreaking work throughout Toronto, not one particular sector, but has really done a lot of great work across Toronto. I've done a lot of settlement work in and around the GTA, and currently I'm the senior diversity and equity consultant for CAMH. I'm also the director for diversity, equity, and communications for Children's Aid Durham. We are looking right now at the overrepresentation of Black and Indigenous children in care, and we have a large influx of Afghans arriving shortly into Ontario. Most likely they'll end up in Toronto and Montreal or Vancouver, the popular destinations. So it's important that for my role, to know that those children don't share the same fate as some of the other marginalized communities. So that's my story, and I'm looking to learn from our panelists.
Thank you, Jay. Welcome to the series today. Moving on now. In the early years of all of you moving to Canada, what were the initial barriers that you faced? What were the early days like? At whatever phase in your life that you came, what were some of those challenges that felt insurmountable then? And having conquered those, you feel a sense of growth and confidence. So if you can take us back to some anecdote or some experiences in the early days, anybody who would like to start?
I can go. So I came here when I was really little. My mom brought myself and my two sisters. I was probably 9 or 10 when I came here. And so my experiences might be a little bit different than adults when they come here. But I definitely remember the first time I went to a grocery store sampling foods that they offer. I mean, I don't think they do it now because of COVID, but I remember because of the English language barrier that I had, I wasn't aware what I was sampling. And I learned later that I had tried ham for the first time. And if you know, like within the Muslim community, eating pork is one of the biggest sins you could do, right? So I immediately found out because my cousin was like, well, what did you just eat? I was like, oh, I don't know. They were just giving out samples. So I just was going to try it. And she told me that what I ate, and I just started to cry because I just didn't know how else to express my sadness and shock. And it was a good lesson for me. But I think that from that experience, it always reminded me that I'm no longer home and that I need to be mindful of what I eat or being aware of what I'm putting into my body. Just the need to ask for help, the need to ask for information. other experiences that I personally had as a young person is just being removed from our extended family and community and culture. And that was a big disadvantage for me because I was trying to make sense of the world around me. And it wasn't until, my early 20s that I finally came back to my culture and my roots, having gone far, far away, trying to battle with this identity of who I was and the new place that I was at. I also remember really disliking the food here and being really, really cold, like I usually am still. And just, missing family, feeling the displacement, the dislocation and disconnection from everything I knew. So those were, some of the challenges, and some of them were still learning and understanding new challenges that we experience. The integration process, they say it takes 20 to 30 years, and we're past the 26 years. And I can tell you that there's still ways that we're still integrating into this new home, which I'm really grateful for, but it definitely has come at a big loss. But I am super grateful for my sisters, because I had someone to live this experience through, and we had each other's back and could grow and cry and laugh together throughout this journey.
Thanks for sharing that beautiful story from your journey. Zahra, what do you recall from the early years when you came? You came here in 2008. What were the initial struggles that you faced, or just the interesting things you experienced?
Yes, for me, like the challenges, unlike others, from language, there was no challenges for language barriers or unemployed or integration into the society. But my challenge for that processing time, because I was so passionate to see all those opportunities as a woman to have here, which we haven't in our back home. So I wanted to get into and then when for every single steps that I want to take it takes so long. And for me, it was a little bit kind of depressed that why I'm ready. So the opportunities here, why it takes so long. And one of the examples would be that I had my degree, and then it was there for evaluation. It takes years until evaluated. And that was very actually the big challenge for me. Surprisingly, I have seen the other newcomers who are contacting me or who I come in contact with. They have also the same issue, most of them, that they wanted to get in somewhere, but it takes so long. I always tell them, okay, you have to learn that the processing is slow here. So you have to be patient, learn to be patient, but time bring you to your goal as well. It needs times. So that's my challenge, actually, processing time.
That brings me to Hakima. I know you shared with me earlier before the session that, when you came here in 1994, you went through a series of different jobs. You worked in fast food chains and lots of small odd jobs, and then found your way to school, and then found your passion, your calling in social services. Tell us about the early years, because in the 1990s, I believe there wasn't much support for newcomers, maybe from the government, but not many private independent organizations. So how did you find your feet then? Oh, you're on mute, Hakima.
Yes, Vasudha, it was a very challenging time for us. I was overwhelmed, as just like any other newcomer would feel like. The lack of awareness about the community resources caused us a lot of difficulties, which related to employment, education, healthcare, and many more. I was trying to seek employment, but the employers were looking for Canadian experience, and I didn't know how to get that. It took months upon my arrival to enroll in a school due to the lack of information. We did not have a family doctor for a while until we were introduced to a family doctor by a friend. We faced a lot of challenges, difficulty, but it's a relief right now that, just to know that there are so many resources available for newcomers that they can contact and they can get help. So it was a very, very challenging time for us too. Just obtaining a job, it was so hard. And finally, as I mentioned to you, I had to work so many odd jobs to gain that Canadian experience needed to actually use that towards the job that I wanted in my own field.
I applaud your resilience, Hakima. And now I'd like to talk to Jay. Jay, you came when you were 8-9 years old, uprooted from one country, came to Canada. You shared with me earlier that there were some initial struggles with, finding a sense of belonging. Can you recall that time for us, please?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing that I remember is being two different people, being one person at home and being somebody else when you're in public with your new friends and you're trying to fit in. You're doing your best to create this dual identity, right? You speak differently, you think differently when you're with your friends, when you're at school. Fitting in is so important. Integrating is so important. And sometimes we have the wrong sense of what integration means. We're very quick to lose our identity because fitting in means so much at that age. And then when you go home, you're expected to remember and know and understand so much of your culture, so much of your religion. So it's a constant battle, and you never know which one you're true to. You never know which one you're supposed to have at the forefront of your mind. And you see this struggle not just with other Afghan youth who are new, but you see it with Sri Lankan youth, with Jamaican youth, youth from different cultures, somebody from India. It doesn't matter. They're struggling, they're battling with this dual identity. You see it with male and female or any other gender expression. They're battling with this sense of belonging while they're trying to fit into their new home, but also staying true to their culture. The other big piece is you start to become the cultural broker with between society and your parents. You're now expected to take them to the bank and translate, take them to the doctor's office and translate. And maybe you didn't sign up for that sense of responsibility that young of an age, but you don't have a choice. You are the bridge between the old culture and the new culture for your parents. And you are put in a position where you're now, not young, but not old, or not an adult yet, but you have to know and understand. I remember when I was, 12, 13, I had access to both my parents' bank accounts. I knew everything about their medical history. I knew everything about everything. You just don't see that. You don't see that with certain ages now. But I was put in that position at that young of an age to be able to speak to those issues. And there's so much more. I mean, the struggles of newcomer youth, I think, is well documented. But certainly, with our perspective, I like to say that we have a very strong culture. I'm sure a lot of other communities do as well. It's always a struggle to a fine balance, I guess you can say, between the two cultures.
So having heard all of your experiences when you moved to Canada, as we have a new group of Afghans who are escaping war, persecution, moving to Canada, what is it that we as a country, as a community can support them with? In terms of, I know, settlement, employment, education, all of that is important, housing, but at the outset, on the mental health aspect, on the, the social aspect, how do we make these people feel at home and feel like the country embraces them? I know you work in mental health, Jay, if you have a perspective on this.
Yeah, I think it's important to know who you're serving. Not every Afghan is the same. Even within Afghanistan, there's different levels of marginalization, different levels of privilege. And I think any institution here that wants to work with the Afghan community, they need to know and understand our history as well. We do have a history of slavery within the country. We do have a history of ethnic cleansing in the country, and that has had strong historical trauma on the people of Afghanistan, specifically the Hazara community in Afghanistan. So if you're going to be working with those communities, an Afghan isn't just an Afghan. We also have our own histories. We also have our own backgrounds, and it's important for us to recognize that, for settlement workers, for frontline staff to recognize that, and approach every community within the community very delicately. And we like to live by the golden rule: do unto others as you would do unto you. I think we need to push that to the platinum rule when you're dealing with newcomers, which is do unto others as they would want them to have done on themselves. You really have to know the community before you can approach them and help them. So I think that's one of the biggest pieces. Don't make any assumptions. We all have different lived experiences, even from Afghanistan. The other thing I would say is, yes, it's a war-torn country right now. It's a difficult situation, but don't assume that the people that you're helping are uneducated. They don't know. These are folks that are, they're quite well educated. They might come from difficult circumstances, but to assume that you need to pity them, or you need to empathize with them to the level where you are, ignoring their dignity, it's problematic, and they know, what they've certainly seen hard times, but I'm sure they can stand on themselves. They can stand by themselves. They can speak for themselves, and it's important that we give them that agency, we give them that respect and that dignity.
I love what you said. Give them their dignity and their agency. That's excellent. What I find most inspirational in this group is that despite having found your feet and having an established professional career, you all find so many hours to volunteer. And even after these so many years, you continually give back to the community. Zahra, you are a healthcare practitioner, and yet you also find time to volunteer. You were telling me sometimes you're volunteering more than you work. What motivates you to, even after all these years, to continually support your community?
Yes, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, I do volunteer actually more than my own job. I enjoy actually volunteering because I feel and I believe that volunteer work is so valuable. It has so much value in it. It's unbelievable. It is not only, I can't even compare the volunteer work with the pay job, because it's more than that. When you just take care of somebody's heart, when you are gonna take care of somebody's need, I think it means a lot. It means a lot to me. It is. I think I have already talked to you that I'm volunteering even when I was in my vacation. I just go ahead and did my volunteer work, and when I come back, I was even more tired when I was here, because it's all what motivates me is because my perception that helping others is the most important thing. We have to help one another. We have to, and I'm sure that those volunteering that we are doing, it comes back to us in some good way. I think most people believe in karma, and most believe on a higher power, or we believe in God, and we see that so much rewarding. It's unbelievable rewarding. So that's what motivates me. For me, it's my fate that we are here not only to take care of ourselves, but others as well. So that's my perception.
Mehrangiz, if I can come to you, you work in the community a lot. Volunteering, people say, is great for networking and kind of getting a foot in the door in the profession you want. But for you, it means something much more than that. How has it changed you as a person, your work in the community, and what does it lend to you as a person?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I think that, like what Zahra John has said, and what Jai Sahak has said, it's so important for us to lend a hand, to lend our talents, our abilities to one another, whether it's our own parents or an Afghan sibling, or it could just be another human being, right? Because this world that we live in, we're not just living it on a physical level. We are here present on a spiritual level as well, and there's so much work that needs to be done. And, I know myself and our family received so much love and support from non-Afghans, non-Muslims, who helped to lift us up, right? And so when you're a recipient of that kind of care, you end up being a caregiver yourself, right? And you want to be able to give back. And not only is it part of that reciprocity, but you do see the fruits of your labor. And I think that that's what's really mobilized me to keep going. Also, you learn so much about yourself. You learn about the gifts and skills that you had that you didn't even think you had. There's so many layers of our identity as Afghans, like whether it's our hospitality or our peaceful state of being despite the atrocities that we faced. Those are the unique gifts that are needed so desperately in the times we're in, whether it's COVID or not. We see so much destruction and chaos and war around us, and we need peaceful peacekeepers and change agents to step up and do work. On a professional level, it's helpful, but there's so many other levels that you are gaining back what you're giving. And just to also put to that, like, I think on the flip side, with what Jai Sahak added, like the need for cultural brokers to support the Afghan community coming in is high. Like, we have lots of highly skilled Afghans, Dari speakers, Pashto speakers, English speakers, French speakers, like here all across the world and all across Turtle Island, so Canada and US. And these organizations need to find ways to create space for those cultural brokers, for those interpreters to come in and be the bridge between the Afghan community and these organizations, because it's not a time for every organization to go and do cultural sensitivity training. While I highly encourage that, no matter what, but given the dire need and the need for expediting the integration process, I think it's really about us creating spaces and supporting financially and other resources for people to come in who are skilled in those areas and who have that lived experience and can do a better job at communicating that back to the organizations to then create the supports that are needed, instead of us assuming or thinking that this is what they need. It's going back to the Afghans or the other refugees that are arriving. And in any context, even Indigenous communities, it's not our place to say what others need. It's, create a welcoming, safe space where folks can communicate what their needs are. And if they don't need that, that's okay. You can then make recommendations, but those recommendations need to come from these cultural brokers.
Thanks for that, Mehrangiz. Hakima, she just mentioned a welcoming, safe space. Tell us about your work with the Afghan Women's Organization. What kind of cases and stories have you come across, and what should the newcomer community from the Afghan community, what should they know about your organization?
So Afghan Women Organization has been helping newcomer refugees, especially focusing on women and refugee families since 1990. It's been many years that we've been serving the community. We've been providing settlement services, employment services, language services. We have a variety of services for this newcomer. We have specialized programs for women. We have many, many more programs, and I requested the admin to put the link for our website on the chat room if anybody's interested to contact us. We've been, this is what we've been doing for many years.
I think we lost the connection with the Hakima. Never mind. Zahra, you are a founder of the Hazara Women's Organization. Can you give us a brief insight into what you do there?
Yes. Recently, we also add the resettlement as well, the newcomers, immigrants resettlement as well to programs. We also do free mental health counseling one-on-one as well as in workshops. We have also a few English classes and Dari language classes. We do also the food banks. We're coordinating with the other organization. And also we just assess the community of, especially the newcomers, if they need any kind of the basic needs. We found through donation and we deliver for them. We have so many of incredible volunteers that they're doing that. So among all, I would say we also help the seniors to integrate to the society, because especially for them, it's very hard. It's language barriers and everything. But on the top of that, we also help the newcomers with referral. For example, if they need to find out, like I got a new application that somebody asking, how can I buy a car? So basically we have some people who have experience on that. I'm referring to them, and then he's going to go help him to what kind of car you want. So that's basically, we do a lot of referral stuff. If it's all about their needs. So first of all, we also assess their needs. If based on their need, we just do helping them.
Yeah, that's really practical kind of support. Now, I would like to talk to all of you about you as a young immigrant, or you trying to make it in this country, and what kind of work did you have to put in yourself to, maybe it was language skills, maybe mindset shift, maybe your personality, maybe you were an introvert, you kind of had to work on your social interactions, trying to open up for finding work. Have you any experiences that all of you can share on that aspect? What kind of change did you put in yourself?
If you're talking about the work, for me, I think it's very good if people want, we have to speak up actually for our need. And that's the most important thing. For me, like I had to, when I came into Canada, only 3 months I had to study for a certificate. And then 2 months I had to do a co-op. Right on the co-op, after the end of the co-op, I got hired. And it's only because I have networking as well as speak up. Because I remember that my director come and welcoming me to coming to the nursing home to work, to volunteer as a activation specialist. And he told me at the end of welcoming that if you need anything, let me know. And I was calling him back. I said, yeah, I need something. He was, okay, what do you need? I said, I need a job. That was very funny, but he was like, he nodded. He said, okay, I will keep in my mind. So basically after those 2 months that I did the co-op and I got a call, and then they offered me the job, they said that. So that's why I think it's good to have a networking toward like friends or school, and also or to your community, mosque, anything. But also speak up of your need, because if you don't speak up, we don't know what you need, right? What's the need is. So that's I think the most important.
Thanks, Zahra. Hakima, welcome back. I'm going to come to you in just a bit. So what we're talking about is what are some of the essential things you need to invest in yourself to kind of, enhance your personality, your outlook to life, and outlook to finding jobs in Canada. What are some of those essential do's that you must have to really be embraced by the job market, or just maybe your work in social services? Maybe if I can come to you, Jay, in your work in the corporate sector and with your current organization, what would your advice be to the newcomer community? What should they be working on, focusing on as they set out to find a job?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think in large part it depends on your industry. Where it is that you want to work, because every sector will have different expectations, and every sector will have different levels of resources and professional development for their staff as well. But ultimately, I think what's important is that you be true to yourself, and that might sound like it doesn't mean much, but you don't have to lose your culture to get employed. You don't have to lose who you are to get employed. You have to. It's important for you to stay true to who you are. And this is coming from somebody who has shortened their name. I go by Jay, but my full name is Jayun, right? It's very recently that I have had conversations, soul-to-soul conversations with staff that ask me, why don't you go by your full name, Jayun? And I don't know why, right? I don't know why. I don't know when I shortened it. I don't know why I shortened it. I'm pretty sure I shortened it because the sound is, it's more palatable for Western culture. But I didn't choose the name. The name chose me, and I think it's important that we respect who we are, and we respect our mother's decisions. Right, my mother named me. So it's important for you to stay true to who you are. It goes a long way. If you are trying to or pretending to be somebody else, how long can you keep that up for, right? So it's important that you are who you are, and you embrace it. From a more, practical standpoint, I think it's very important that you know and understand, as somebody is going into the job market, what are the expectations of you as an employee. Get to know and understand, labor laws in Ontario and in Canada. What your potential employer can ask of you and can't ask of you. What are your responsibilities in the workplace? Get to know the relevant legislation, the Health and Occupation Act, the Accessibility of Ontarians Act. Get to know the Human Rights Code in Ontario. Really empower yourself, so not just what your responsibility is, but also how you are protected as staff, as a worker, because we do have people that are exploited, newcomers that are exploited in the workplace because they don't know the law. So when we say know the law, it's not just you better know how to act, but it's also do you know enough to empower yourself in the workplace? Outside of that, it's depending on your industry. It's we all know how difficult it is. I'm sure Hakeem and John can go into detail about assisting newcomers trying to find employment and what that means. I mean, I've worked on that end as well. Of resume building and interview building, interview skills. It's tough. It's tough being a newcomer, but I never doubt the resilience of our community. But I think at the same time, it's very important that we empower ourselves and know the law of the land and how it governs and what it means for you as an employee.
Thanks, Jay. Hakima, before I lose you again, so we were talking about what kind of skills or essential, mindset shifts one should equip themselves with when they're trying to break into an industry or a profession, trying to rebuild their career here in Canada. Anything that you can share from your experience? You went to school after lots of jobs and then now have a thriving career in social services. Did something change in your attitude or in how you approached your career? What worked for you that maybe you can share as advice for other newcomers?
To me, I think it's all about the passion, like what you are passionate about, what are your skill sets. To me, I found that how passionate I was working with people. And that's when I started working volunteering work. And I started gaining that Canadian experience that was needed to obtain a job in my field. So I think it really depends what you like, and it's what you are passionate about. And of course, doing volunteer works, doing research. These are the stuff that I think it really helps newcomers. And I think most people, there are a lot of resources available that they can connect and they can help them match their skill sets with the employment that's available in the market. So I think for newcomers, it's a great opportunity just to connect to settlement services, employment center. Nowadays, internet is a big market where they can do a lot of, a lot of research, and they can get the resources that they need.
Thanks, Hakima. We have some interesting audience questions, and a brilliant one comes from Shruti Dargan. She says, this is a question for all panelists. Was there a mistake you made as a new immigrant that you now laugh about or warn others about? I know I've made many.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I can share a very quick one. I don't know if it's a mistake, but maybe just a cultural piece. But I remember the first time I went to Wonderland, I had no idea what it was, and I went there and had a great time. And then I remember inviting one of my Iranian friends who also didn't have a clue what it was. So I called him up and I told him, listen, we're going to this place, we're going as a group. And he had no idea what it was. So he showed up in a full suit and tie. Yeah, so I'm sure to show him this clip, but that's it happens.
That's a brilliant story. Love it. Anybody else? Any early flubs? We have one more question. This person says, I hope and pray your friends, family, and community at large are all safe in Afghanistan right now. What goes on in your mind as you read about the current developments back home? Mehrangiz, if you'd like to talk about it.
That's a great question. Thank you for that. I think again, I can only speak from my own experience and my own understanding. And it's not to say this is every Afghan's experience, but our family, like most Afghan families and most forcibly displaced refugee families, is that, war and conflict comes at a really, really high cost. And part of that cost is the loss of so many loved ones and the disruption that happens to every aspect of your being and existence. And, we've lost so many of our loved ones, whether it was the Russian invasion, whether it's the Taliban, including our own father. And, we know what it's like to live with the scars of the war that has been ongoing for well over 40 years. And so when you hear about the news, it is a reminder of that destruction that exists that we haven't been able to figure out as a global community. And it is not the responsibility of Afghans to address those things, because there's a lot of different parties and nations involved that have benefited, including financially, as a result of this war being an ongoing one, right? So the first while, especially within the month of July, I just fell apart, I'm sure many folks did. And it was reliving a lot of the pain. And for me, instead of the fight, flight, or fawn, I froze. And I just was buried in lots of grief, lots of sadness, lots of anger. And I had difficulty sleeping. I was having nightmares. Even though, I don't physically remember those things happening to us, but we are connected as human beings. What happens in one side of the world is going to come and impact everyone else. And a lot of times I personally felt like I was dreaming about the realities that were happening in Afghanistan. So it breaks my heart. It's frustrating and unfathomable, why we're still in this situation and why we haven't yet come to the understanding that we need to work towards peace, and no matter how many Afghan refugees or how many other refugees we bring to these Western countries that do not belong to the European settlers, 99.5% of those people are still back home. They're still living in that chaos, and there is an obligation for the international community, while they support refugees and take them on, that they actually work towards peace building, which is what we need most, which is, very actually simple to do if you remove all these layers and all the people that benefit from it. So for me, that's part of my frustration, but I think that challenge too is an opportunity for us to work towards that and to hold people accountable who sit around tables to make decisions on behalf of all Afghans and all immigrants. And I think that's part of what gives me hope that there are people that can do those things, and they've lived in peace and they've lived in conflict for long enough to understand the difference and to want to work back towards that peace and harmony that Afghanistan enjoyed for thousands and thousands of years.
What are your hopes and expectations for the newcomers from Afghanistan who have come in? Through your work in the community, what do you hope to provide to them? Mehrangiz.
Oh, you want me to answer that? Honest to God, for me, like the most important thing is for their well-being. Like مایوم سرحال باشن، مایوم استراحت کنن، مایوم که دلخور شاد نگاه بگیرن و آرامش پس برگرده به وجود اینا. What I want most for them is their state of being. I want them to be well. I want them to be healthy. I want them to find the peace and work on their well-being, because before you can even think about networking or applying for jobs or trying to get your credentials, you have to take care of yourself. And they've been through so much, and we don't even know 98% of what they've been through. So for me, the most important thing is to just take care of themselves. Mefamum, Afghana, we're not very good at that. We don't do a good job at prioritizing our wellness, and there's a lot of stigma associated with mental illness and even mental health in itself. So I think before we can do anything else, we have to make sure that we're okay before we can take any step forward and build on that.
That's a very important point and essential for their real social, economic, and mentally emotional inclusion in this country. I want to take one last round of questions before we close today's session. Just like your parting message to the newcomer community, just drawing from your own experience, some kind of, if you were to speak to somebody face to face, what would you like to tell them as words of reassurance? Zahra, if I can start with you.
Well, as my sister already said, that it's very important to take care of their mental health and physical health. On the top of that, I would suggest for newcomers, Afghan women, to refresh, repolish their goals that they have been suppressed either due to their war or due to the cultural beliefs, such as being a woman, or staying home, or any due to anything, or marriage, or any reason. They can repolish it. They can refresh it and just work hard toward their goals. And there is a lot of opportunities. Of course, it takes time. They should keep in mind. But they should just work hard, and they will get all those dreams that they have suppressed till now. Because here, the women have the most opportunities, and they should work on their goals back. And for men, Afghan men, I would say that please support your woman, please support your wife, please support your daughters. At the end, they're going to be a big support to you. Here is not Afghanistan, here is Canada. You need their empowerment. They have to be empowered. They have to work on their goals. If either is studying or working outside, let them do and support them. For that's my message for Afghan newcomers and women newcomers. But of course, as Mehrangiz said, mental health, physical health is the most important. But yeah, we need also, on the top of the physical and mental health, we need other aspect of our life as well. We can work on that. And definitely, if they need help, here we are, the communities, organizations like Afghan Women Organization, Hazara Women Organization, Afghan Islamic Community Center, Afghan Empowerment Committee, they're all here to help you all. Just approach us, just see each one we can do for them. So I know that right now, so many of organizations, they come together, they wanted to help them, they want to resettle them. So don't hesitate to contact us. We are here to help.
We are here to help. Wonderful. I feel so reassured knowing that the Afghan community has these wonderful ambassadors readily willing to help and extend support. That's beautiful. Hakima, your parting message to the newcomer community from Afghanistan, what would you like to tell them?
My message to newcomer from Afghanistan is that Canada is a beautiful country. There are a lot of opportunity. Please don't be afraid to reach out for help. There are a lot of resources available. Please connect with your nearest community center, settlement center, employment center. We at Afghan Women's Organization are available to help. We have 4 locations across GTA for our clients' convenience. Please contact us. We can help you with any settlement issues that you have. As Zahra John said, there are a lot of communities that are there to help. So please don't hesitate to contact us. We are here to help.
Jay, coming to you now.
I'll just keep it very short. The Prophet Muhammad said, paradise lies at the feet of your mother. I would say that the future of our country, the future of Afghanistan, lies at the fate of our women. We have to support our women. We have to empower our women, whether that's women in Afghanistan or that's women here in Canada. We have a responsibility to make sure that the next generation of Afghan women, there's self-esteem, there's empowerment, that they take the lead. I think it's time for some of the more prominent figures in the community to maybe take a back seat and let women lead. Access to education, access to employment, these are big factors, these are big issues in our community. And I think it's important more than ever that the Afghan community realizes this in Canada. I mean, the situation back home is a bit more complicated, but certainly here, we need to empower our Afghan women, whatever that takes. So as Zahra just very eloquently put it, we need to learn from our past. We need to learn from what's happened, and we need to find a solution. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We need to put women at the forefront, and hopefully this is an opportunity for us to do that. You see it here in the panels, the wonderful experiences and the experiences that have been shared. So if you're listening to our audience, this is our time. This is your time as an Afghan woman to step up, and for the Afghan men, I think it's our time to empower our communities. Thank you.
Excellent. And lastly, Mehrangiz, if there's one thing that we can take away from this conversation, if there's one piece of advice you'd like to give to them, what would that be?
Oh my God, there's so many. It's hard to say one, but I do echo everything that's been said already. And I just want to acknowledge all that. I would say it's really, part of it is going to be coming outside the Afghan bubble. I think many of us may be used to staying within our own community, but I've learned from my experience, you learn the most when you go outside, and you actually end up appreciating your culture and your history and the integrity of your culture and your way of life more when you go outside. And so just to attach onto that, I think I really would love for our Afghan relatives to get to know whose homelands they have now come to, because let us not forget, This is the home of the first peoples, the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island, where there's over 600 different nations that have their own unique languages, cultures, ways of life. And I've been so blessed to be exposed to those things. And it's really helped me to, find pride again, because I did lose it, in my culture and in my language, and see the importance of the teachings that my grandparents and my parents have taught us all this time. So I think it's really important for us to connect with whose homelands we are on, and to learn about Canada and Turtle Island from them, not from books, not from, other people that wrote about them, but make those relationships, build and get to know each other.
I just want to say I really appreciate all of you for speaking so candidly, and for really bearing your heart and, extending your hand of support to the newcomer community. It's really encouraging, and also serves as a source of inspiration for other races in the newcomer community to learn from your example and to continually give back to the community. The cycle of goodwill should continue always. With that, I'll bring this session to a close. Zahra, Hakima, Mehrangiz, and Jay, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you. This is our ongoing series, Immigrants' Journey to Success. And just a note about the organizations we spoke today, there's the Hazara Women Organization, an Afghan women's organization, which provides refugee and immigrant services. You can log on to their websites at the address shown on your screen for any kind of support that you're looking for.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Café New Canadians. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure to be here.
Ours as well. And you were watching Café New Canadians. As always, you can follow us on our socials and on our website, newcanadians.tv. And our newsletter, newcanadians.tv/newsletter. Do subscribe to it for special highlights from all the content that we put out, and just other resources and useful guides that you won't find anywhere. And subscribe to our updates on our YouTube channel. We were broadcasting live on YouTube right now, and you can see a recap of this session soon after. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.